Okay, friends, I am so excited to finally share these with you. So, these are two of my therapeutic coloring workbooks, and honestly, I think these two are probably my most personal favorites because a lot of them comes from my own healing journey. So, this one here is the Reparenting You, the new parenting revolution, parenting your inner child. And this one here is Now What? Living Outside a Survival Brain, a therapeutic coloring journey. And I want to show you a little bit of what's inside of them both. So let's start with the Reparenting You. I've actually created a 3-book Reparenting You series because inner child work has been such a huge part of my own healing. I literally reparented myself. And what I mean by that is I started thinking about all the things that I would recommend a caregiver parent to do for a child who's experienced trauma. How would I talk to that child? How would I help them feel safe? How do you build up that connection or attachment? How would I validate their feelings? Do they need structure and routine? How would I build their confidence? Heal their brains, right? How would I help them learn how to play, to rest, to trust themselves, to have boundaries, and know what their needs are and that they matter? And so I started doing those things for myself, for my inner child. And that's really where this workbook comes from. It's filled with coloring and like worksheets, reflection activities, actual things that you can do to start connecting with and reparenting your inner child. And I also think this is also very important for parents. You don't have to be a parent to do this, but I think this is important to parents as well. Because sometimes when we're trying to parent our own children differently, it brings up the places in us that we still need healing for. And if you're trying to give your child something you didn't receive, and suddenly your own little person is right there going, hey, what about me? Right? That's why I love this work so much. And that's why this book is really, basically, I wrote it and designed it for what I wanted when I was reparenting my inner child. The second one is also dear to my heart. Now What? Living Outside a Survival Brain. And I actually wrote a book about this too, which you can get on my website. But oh my gosh, this one came from a different part of my healing. Because I had done so much trauma work and nervous system work, and eventually I realized, holy crap, it's a whole different world when your nervous system actually feels safe. No, for reals. And if you know, you know. Nobody prepared me for that part. We talk so much about surviving trauma and healing trauma, but what happens about when you're not surviving anymore? No, seriously, now what? Who are you outside of survival? And so this is one of the things I love about this book, because it's going to help you figure out what you like, who you are, what makes you happy. And spoiler alert, happiness comes from inside. And this book is going to help you figure out what safety feels like, what it looks like, what kind of life do you actually want, right? And how do you begin letting go of that identity, that survival identity that may have been built around your survival? I remember thinking it would have been really nice to have a workbook that helped me figure out some of that stuff, how to rewrite my story. So I made one. And this one teaches you about the brain and the nervous system while you color and work through it. We talk about the vagus nerve, how to build trust in yourself, how to play. You learn about your window of tolerance. Oh, and of course, polyvagal practices, right? What about learning about the triggers and the glimmers? And your nervous system is always listening. And you actually get to meet your different survival responses. The fight, the flight, the freeze, the fawn, and the collapse. And then you get to practice these new ways. And I'll show you some of the pages, as I mentioned here. I love this. Because healing happens one tiny choice at a time. Oh, here's a good one. Fight, freeze, the possum, the fawn. This is about figuring out who you want to create now. And this is why these two books mean so much to me. And I wasn't sure if I was going to share this on That Parenting Coach or The Craft of Wellness, or if I'm sharing it on both. Because even though my website is called That Parenting Coach, these resources are absolutely not just for parents. If you're doing your own healing work, these are resources for anxiety, nervous system regulation, neurodivergent brains, and busy, brilliant brains. Finding your calm, your inner child, and trauma recovery, plus so much more. There are also so many free resources and coloring sheets, and I'm always adding new things. No, seriously, it takes a long time for it to upload. You can check everything out at thatparentingcoach.ca. And really, these are the resources I really wish someone had handed to me when I was doing this work for myself. So I did the work first, and then I created the workbooks that I wish I had. And if you are reparenting your inner child, or you're finally starting to step outside of your survival, and you're wondering, okay, now what? I invite you to check these out, my friends. I really do. So until next time, wherever I found you, if you made it this far, hit subscribe. Let's build a community. Right? New world, friends. Keep choosing yourself. Keep practicing. Trust the process, because you know everything always works out for you. I'm Kat. Have a great night.